The topic is how will FM in the workplace change as robotics becomes more accepted. General Manager of SoftBank Robotics, Stefano Bensi. Thank you.
We'll talk a little bit about the non-people side of cleaning and FM. It's mostly around tools and productivity improvements and how technology is getting applied into the sector. Just give you a little bit of background about the company. SoftBank is a $45 billion revenue company. It's Japanese. We're listed on the Tokyo Stock Exchange. We've been around for over 50 years. Our founder is there in the bottom left, Masa-son. And he's sort of like a Sir Richard Branson in the UK or Elon Musk, maybe not the Twitter side of Elon Musk, but the Tesla side of Elon Musk, sort of tech innovator, Steve Jobs kind of person in Japan. And he basically started a company that's focused on technology and has a venture fund, a tech venture fund that is the largest in the world, $140 billion. And through that venture fund, we have invested in over 450 companies. Mostly the model for the investments are similar to what you were talking about earlier, which is that we take minority investments to help small businesses scale and come to market. And we've been doing that for a number of years. I'm going to talk a little bit today about some of those technologies that we're seeing, particularly in the FM sector, tied to robotics, and new technology things that involve AI and things like that. We are currently in 80 countries around the world, and our European headquarters is here in London, where my team is. So, talking a little bit about the challenges in the FM sector, just to give some context to some of the solutions and topics that I'll mention in terms of the technologies that we are seeing. I'm also going to talk a little bit about what we're seeing out in Asia. Maybe through watching movies or just having traveled there yourselves, you might know that Japan and Eastern Asia typically are very early adopters when it comes to tech and robots. They love them, they think they're great. Adopting something, doesn't matter if it doesn't work perfectly, let me try it. And by them being like the early adopters and the early innovators, we can see what has survived the test of time, and then we start to see those things start coming to Europe and to the US. So in the FM sector, of course, we've got a very competitive marketplace. You all have talked about the super thin margins, the difficulty to differentiate between each other when presenting to clients. It's a very big topic. Low margins, recruitment problems. The challenge with recruitment is not only around pay rates and can you offer enough, but it's about, we've been talking about a lot of presentations today around what is the experience of the worker, the experience of the tenant for the ultimate client. It's about experiences. And with a gig economy where people have choices, I don't want to be a cleaner, I'm going to go drive an Uber car, or I'm going to drive an Amazon van or something else and set my own schedule. That's the kind of competition that we're now facing. It's not just the other cleaning job that might pay me 10p or more. And that is a big factor in recruiting and in retention of employees. So, and the last point here is around the need for data and transparency and showing that work is getting done. So, couple of the challenges in the FM and cleaning sector, traditionally a little bit slow to adopt new technologies, perhaps because the margins are thin, can't afford to take big risks. But then you have events like COVID that had some kind of accelerator effect with technology, the will or the desire or the willingness to take a risk to implement and try new things really pushed us all to try to attempt things that hadn't been done, or to accelerate things that you've been toying with but not quite got there yet. And then the challenge of building this, taking these technologies, these new things, and making it part of your business now, making it part of your strategy, making it part of a new way that you operate. And then finally on this slide, looking at how you evolve, how you get from the old way of doing things and move to the new way. And data is a piece of that, right? The tools, whether it be in robotics, cloud, and all the data stuff, sensor data, all that stuff, these are all ingredients, but taking that and making it part of your decisions, your insights, the outcomes that you're focusing on, those are the things that really matter. Okay, I'm just going to mention this. It's some of you may have seen this before. It's called the Gartner Hype Curve. It's some of the ways that we think about technologies and the readiness for bringing to the market. And so forgive me for if some of you know this already, but I'll just quickly go over it. Any new technology goes through a phase, and you sort of see similar patterns. You have the very early phase of innovation where somebody says, oh, I've got a new idea. And very quickly, if it's a good idea, you go to some kind of expectation about how it's going to completely transform the sector or the industry or the world. And people start to imagine all of the possibilities, but actually, it often is overstated. And we've heard that in cloud, we've heard it in AI, we've heard it in robotics. I think there was an example earlier where we posted a photo of the Hyundai's robot, what was it called, Akimo? That, you know, the reality of which was, you know, long time in coming and still being tweaked and refined. It's not quite there yet. Then you go, so then after this peak, you sort of go through this zone of, or the trough of disillusionment where you're like, actually, the reality of this is not that good. But then there's a slope of enlightenment which is like, well, but it is good for certain things. They can do other things, and actually we'll make a few tweaks and adjustments, and it gets better and better. And this is the area where you realize productivity gains, you realize improvements in experiences, whether it be for the workers or the clients. And this is the area where we look at innovation and technology and whether it's ready for market. So SoftBank's got a variety of different types of technologies that we have invested in. Today I'm going to speak specifically in the cleaning segment, although I will give a quick shout out to our partners, H3 Dynamics, who together with which we won the award earlier this afternoon. And that technology is around using drones to take photography around buildings, using the camera photographs and uploading them to the cloud, creating like a 3D model of a building. And that model then automatically will, using AI algorithms, identify anomalies. Anything from cracks to plant vegetation to rust to thermal leakage if you're in a cold air country where you've got heat escaping, or if you're in a hot country where you've got cold air escaping. Really great technology, but today I'm going to focus more on the cleaning side. So there's a rise in the value of clean, and by that I mean the importance of an environment being clean is never been more important. The awareness, the demands of tenants, partly related to COVID and sanitization, but partly around the millennials and the Gen Zs coming into the workforce and having an expectation about what their environment needs to be like in order for them to work. Why should I come and work here? What are you going to do for me? This topic came up earlier. And awareness of it being a great place, clean, becomes more important. So that's client demands and expectations. And it's about taking a new mentality, a new approach to how to solve problems. Today, in cleaning, you've got people, let's say, doing vacuuming, and they literally will go around with a vacuum going around everywhere like this. And it's so normal, we don't really think about it. But if I said to you, or to a cleaner and asked and said, what about not using the vacuum? Let's go back to using a broom, like we used to do, like the good old days. I mean, people would say, what are you talking about? That's totally insane. When you now have robotics able to basically vacuum without needing to push a vacuum cleaner around, at some point, we're not quite there yet, but in 3 years, 5 years, 10 years, you'll say, oh, we're going to take that vacuum away, and you're going to need to actually pull one along with you and actually sweep it across every part of the floor. People will look and say, well, why would you do that? That's completely insane. Yet that's where we are today. The good side, though, is that the technology is here to improve the work life of the person. They can become more productive, and they just have to activate it and clean it and empty some of the paper bags once in a while. So, okay. So, one of the other pain points I thought I'd briefly mention, this also has come about, is the different work habits of people in the office. Going into the office used to be the red line, everyone kind of go consistently every day. Now it's peaking on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays. Really difficult for a cleaning crew. How do you bid for a project and say, well, I need more people on Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays, and fewer people on a Monday and a Friday? How do I manage those peaks? How do I structure contracts? It's not an easy problem. Using tools, I've used robotics here as an example, but using tools, using automation, using technology and robotics is one of the ways that you can manage those peaks and manage a team of people then in a more consistent kind of way. So bringing some of that together, we see technology integration as a very important sort of piece. It's not just about the piece of equipment, it's not just about the tool, not just about cloud, but it's how it all fits together. It's how it generates data. The data then integrates with, can integrate with other systems. We don't believe that like we should have all the data, so we have API access that you can push or pull data out into your systems, whether they be BIM systems, or CAFM systems, or just work or apps that tell a cleaner where should I clean, or there's a notice saying that the robot's stuck because someone's closed the door. These types of data things can be integrated into third-party systems. And we see our role as being the bringer of technologies and open systems. There was a question earlier around what does it mean to be open? An open system doesn't necessarily, in my mind, mean everything automatically just works without ever having to do anything. It's more around, we're going to tell you how our system works, and so if you want to connect to it and pull things and push things in, it's possible to do that. And we're not making it secret, it's not a black box. So that's what we mean by open systems. So our portfolio is around in autonomous cleaning. We mentioned briefly about facade inspection. We also have one of the photographs that was on the board earlier around the only technology we've actually seen that's of any use, and you saw that white robot, the white pillar robot. That's a Gaussian robot. That's one of our investments that we've made, and a partner company of ours. So there are a number of technologies that are there. We're also, you can see on here, tray robotics that is now being brought into the food and beverage and catering industries. And in the back, the one with the doors is also for hotels. So for room service, whether it be toothbrushes and towels, to food deliveries and things like that. It has elevator integration, so you can go from kitchens up an elevator to the 4th floor, down to a room, and then once the person opens the doors will open and they can take whatever's inside out. So some really great technologies, and that, as an example, is one where the value of the food that you buy when you're in a hotel, and we've all been there, I think, in a hotel where you order a burger and it costs £15, and you think, how does that even happen? But like a third of it or half of it is because of the overhead costs and the cost of needing to hire people to be available to move stuff from a kitchen, and most of that's just unproductive and long hauls backwards and forwards and bussing stuff. Being able to bring a tool in that makes that not necessary can make a big difference to the variable cost of providing food to a restaurant guest. Part of the way we're thinking about technology is around looking at a particular sector. So this image focuses on the hotel sort of scenario, but I think it applies, similar principles apply to a corporate building setup. But basically, we've got everything from on the left where it says F, it's like a humanoid robot that can be used as concierge. You've got the tray robots, which we talked about. You've got cleaning robots, which are I and G. G is the Gaussian one that I mentioned earlier. And we're doing some experimenting as well around the back end, linen linen movement from where it gets delivered and up to rooms and things like that, sort of behind the scenes type automation as well. And then up on the actual building, we've got a couple of technologies we're very excited about. The drone one is the one that I mentioned before that checks the building and looks for infrastructure requirements. And that one that's E is called Kite Robotics. They're a Netherlands company that we think are amazing, and they do, thank you. And they do external building window cleaning. Really innovative technology and amazing sort of reduction in risks for people. It's a very risky job type and changes the cost dynamics of window cleaning in a big way. So just as an example, one of our most popular robotics products is about this big. It's called Whiz, and it's just a vacuum cleaner. It uses the same technology as that they're using to do Tesla cars for autonomous navigation, but simpler, but basically the same. It's got cameras, 3D cameras, LiDAR systems. It scans the environment. If something's in the way, it goes around if it can. It's basically the global #1 leading robot in the cleaning space by far. And it runs 100,000 hours a year in total of all the ones deployed, which is basically like once around the world a year. And that's it. That's our introduction to SoftBank. If any of you, the only other thing I might say is, we are often on the hunt from our investment side for tools and technologies, and as companies start to look at options, if you find something that's great, please give me a call. We're often looking at things, kicking the tires, investing. Sometimes you might find a technology and say, it's too risky, it's too small, can't afford to bet on it for my client, but if somebody else were backing it, then maybe we would. And I think between us and ISS Investments and Sodexo Investments or groups, JLL also has innovation funds. I think that there's a lot of support out there for new and evolving technologies. So please do reach out if you come across something or are looking to build something. That would be great. Thank you.
I appreciate that we're running a little bit behind. Is there a question on robotics before we let Steph go?
How do you charge them? And a second question, my wife would like 2 of those. How much are they?
When charges in financially, or you mean electronically recharge? Electricity, yes, sorry. Okay, so the different ones have different recharging mechanisms. The Whiz that I was showing you there actually has swappable batteries, which allows it to run, without needing to stop. Because sometimes what you'll have is a cleaning crew will come in and they might be there for 4 hours. It'll run for 3 hours. You can swap the battery and then leave it, and it'll keep going. Other ones, though, can recharge when just by themselves, but then you have to be able to leave them in an environment in that recharging station. And so, like in an airport, that might make sense, and they can be out. But in certain environments, you need to put the thing away later. So we've kind of got both swappable batteries, which allow continuous operation, and recharging docking stations as well for certain model types. And contact me later about getting your wife a couple.
Brilliant, thank you. Big hand for Steph.